FTC's proposed ban on non-compete agreements, impact on business valuation. Introduction. The Federal Trade Commission, FTC, is proposing a new regulation that would prohibit employers from imposing non-compete contracts that bar employees from pursuing jobs with competitors or establishing competitive enterprises. Non-compete clauses are contractual provisions that reduce worker pay and inhibit entrepreneurship and innovation. The FTC believes that the proposed rule may increase worker compensation by as much as $296 billion annually. The Commission has solicited public feedback regarding its proposed rule and alternative rules. The proposed rule defines words such as non-compete provision and specifies that businesses must revoke existing non-compete clauses and notify impacted employees. Proposed Federal Trade Commission regulation. The Federal Trade Commission, FTC, has proposed a new rule that would prohibit restrictive non-compete provisions. The proposed rule would prohibit companies from entering into non-compete agreements with employees and require them to remove any existing non-compete clauses. A non-compete clause is a contractual provision between an employer and an employee that prohibits the person from working for a rival or starting a competing firm, typically within a certain geographical area and time period after the employee's employment expires. Over 30 million American workers, or 1 in 5, are currently restricted from exploring better employment prospects by a non-compete provision. The proposed rule of the FTC attempts to address the negative consequences of non-compete provisions, which can reduce wages for both workers subject to them and those who are not, reduce competition for workers, impede the formation of new enterprises, and hinder entrepreneurship and innovation. The FTC believes that the proposed rule may enhance annual profits for American workers by $250 billion to $296 billion. Part 910 of a proposed new subchapter J would be added to Chapter I of Title 16 of the Code of Federal Regulations. The proposed rule includes definitions for the terms business entity, non-compete provision, employer, employment, substantial owner, substantial member, and worker. In addition, it would establish that non-compete clauses are an unfair manner of competition, prevent employers from entering into or maintaining such agreements with employees, and require companies to retract any existing non-compete clauses. Employers that have previously engaged in non-compete terms with their employees would be compelled to retract them by a specified deadline. Companies would also be compelled to inform employees that their non-compete agreements had expired and cannot be enforced against them. The proposed rule also includes penalties and FTC enforcement measures. The FTC is accepting public comments on the proposed rule through March 20, 2023, at which point it will evaluate the feedback and decide whether to finalize the regulation. What effect do non-compete agreements have on the value of a business? Non-compete agreements restrict the ability of important workers or owners to quit the company to work for a competitor or start a competing business, thereby protecting the firm's intellectual property and client ties. Non-compete clauses can also hinder a potential buyer's ability to fully capitalize on the company's potential if they prohibit them from employing key personnel or entering specific markets. The presence of a non-compete clause can raise the value of a corporation if it gives a competitive advantage or minimizes the likelihood of important staff departing. However, if the non-compete agreement is extremely restrictive or too long in terms, it could lower the company's value by limiting its ability to attract and retain people and by reducing its development and expansion potential. Noting that the enforceability of non-compete agreements can differ by state, it is essential to evaluate the legal landscape of the applicable jurisdiction. The influence of a non-compete agreement on the valuation of a business will ultimately rely on the exact terms of the agreement, the nature of the sector and market, and the business's overall strategy and objectives. What effect will the FTC's decision to ban non-compete agreements have on the value of businesses? The impact of the FTC's ruling to prohibit non-compete clauses by employers on the valuation of businesses may vary based on a number of factors, including the industry, business model, and unique circumstances of each company. Yet, the following are some potential consequences for businesses. Positive consequences. Greater employee mobility. Without non-compete agreements, employees are free to pursue employment possibilities at other organizations, which could lead to more job openings and simpler recruitment. Increased employee retention. Instead of depending on non-compete agreements, firms may need to implement other retention methods, such as attractive compensation, perks, and career development opportunities. This may result in a more devoted and inspired staff. Improved company's image. By deleting non-compete clauses, organizations can improve their image as employee-friendly and proponents of fair competition. This could result in increased consumer loyalty and great publicity. Negative consequences. Decreased protection for trade secrets. Non-compete clauses can assist organizations in protecting their confidential information, trade secrets, and customer relationships. Without such agreements, firms may have to rely on other techniques, such as non-disclosure agreements, to avoid the misuse of sensitive information by employees. Reduced valuation multiples. Companies operating in industries where non-compete agreements are prevalent may incur reduced valuation multiples if investors view the elimination of such agreements as a risk factor. This could impact the company's capacity to generate capital, attract prospective purchasers, and negotiate advantageous terms in mergers and acquisitions. Increased competition. When more people leave and join organizations, competition for talent and consumers may intensify for businesses. This could result in increased expenses, diminished profit margins, and slower growth. Conclusion. Depending on the particulars of each case, the impact of the FTC's decision may vary considerably. Hence, firms should engage with legal, financial, and human resources professionals to analyze the potential impact on their operations and take the necessary steps to adapt to the shifting regulatory environment. Thanks for watching.